Welcome to Cast Your Bets, the Offshore Gaming Association podcast with your hosts Jim Quinn of OSGA.com and J.R. O'Donnell of Red Zone Sports. Let's get started.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to Cast Your Bets. Wake the neighbors, give the kids an iPad, because Jim from OSGA is here to talk some football, some sports books, and hopefully pick some winners. I'm here with my good friend J.R. O'Donnell of Red Zone Sports and Pregame.com. J.R.O., how's things going this week for you?
Doing well, my friend. Really excited, as I can't believe we're in Week 7. That's right. It's hard to believe. Week 7. The good teams are getting better. The bad teams are getting worse. And we got a lot of nice handicapping stats and trends this week. I'm going to hang up 2 fat winners, 1 college and 1 in the NFL.
Excellent, man. We're looking forward to hearing them. Last week I did okay. Myself, me, and the rest of the world apparently had the under in the Denver game. Unfortunately, the Bears game was a winner for about 37 and a half minutes, and then suddenly everybody went nuts there and started scoring points, and then it goes to overtime on top of it, and that was one of your picks. How'd you end up doing last weekend overall?
I did pretty solid in the NFL. Air Force obviously stung me in college football. As you know, you tell it like it is. If you're going to chirp and you're going to stand on the mountain when you win, you also have to tell it and be transparent here. We had Air Force, and there's something wrong with that team. I had Air Force as a big college play. It went down in flames. But in the NFL, had a couple of nice solid plays. LA Rams against the world, played the New Orleans Saints with the world. And I went against you there. I played over in that Giants-Denver game. The entire galaxy played the under, but they were correct there. You can't always go against the public, but sometimes you got to just take it on the chin. And last week, that Air Force team really stung me pretty hard.
Well, the public generally doesn't win that much. I forget what the exact number is, but it's pretty much like 9 out of 10 guys during the course of a season won't show a profit. And that makes it so that, as a sports book, you can make plenty of money there. And, going against the public is a nice angle to add in, I think, to your handicapping arsenal. I've seen some guys, though, who pretty much lean on that with 80 to 90% of what their decision-making process is. And I'm not so sure that's a good idea, because obviously the public doesn't lose every game. They had a couple of fat winners last week.
Absolutely. If you paint yourself in a box with just one thing in your arsenal, one bullet in the chamber when it comes to betting against the public, hey, you're going to win some weekends, but the public is going to be right sometimes. I mean, basically, that some of these teams do pass the eye test. Some of these teams, when it looks as good as to be true, it really does come that way. If you want to be a successful handicapper, you have to have the public in your back pocket, but you also have to go with it sometimes. You have to get the feel for it. Most handicappers that go strictly against the public, hey, you look like a genius one weekend, but you really get throttled the next.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that there's nothing super consistent, because then we'd all be, hitting games at 85%, if it was going to be that easy. So, the public's going to win sometimes. We're going to have to figure out which games the public, is on that are winners. And I think there's some of those every single week.
Absolutely. Every single week, the public does line up on a darling team. But you know what? The sharps come in there, and the stats and trends do back that. The lines makers, for as sharp as they are, they do make some mistakes sometimes, and that's rare to say. And a lot of people are going to think, JR, you're out of your mind there. But sometimes the lines makers do get it wrong. Some of those small college teams where the public lines up on and the lines makers do not do as much research on there, that is a way to make some money there when the public and the sharps line up. Now, when it comes to the NFL, that is the king. That is the big daddy of football. Those lines are as sharp as you can get now in the NFL. That is the most wagered sport out there, and that's where the lines makers really concentrate to get the public on the wrong side.
I think you have some stats on some of the big public games last week. You mentioned the under. We both mentioned the under in that Denver game, which was a huge play. But what else did the public cash on? Because I think the public did pretty well last week. I actually did okay. So when I do okay, that means pretty much everybody did at least okay.
Well, let me tell you about last week. The New Orleans Saints lined up as a public play and a sharp darling. A lot of my guys offshore and some of my sharpest guys in Hawaii love the New Orleans Saints. That line went from 3, 4, and finally settled in at 6. I had people even call me up and say, JR, I love you, my friend. You're my buddy. Everybody and their brother is saying how good you are, but I am not playing New Orleans at -6. I said, hey, You guys take it for what it is. I love New Orleans at -6. I think it's a sharp and a public play. A lot of people begged off that. New Orleans hung up 52 against the Detroit Lions team. The public and the sharps went two-fisted all the way to the top on New Orleans, and they cashed last week.
I wish I had had the over in that game. They scored 90 points, man. I would have been popping champagne at the end of the first quarter probably. Although I almost made that mistake with the damn Chicago play. I was loving life at halftime in that game. And the public's going to be on games again this week. The public's got some favorite teams too. They're always going to be on the Patriots. They're always going to be on the Cowboys. They're always going to be on Seattle. They're probably not going to be on Green Bay anymore since Aaron Rodgers got hurt. But this week, one of the games I see pretty much 3 out of every 4 bets is the Kansas City Chiefs taking a lot of money after losing last week to Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. Kansas City Chiefs is a public darling this week. Everybody saw how good they were going into. They really turned some heads first game when they stomped on New England's party there, obviously the first game. And Kansas City has been a public darling. Now, last week, people had no parts with Roethlisberger, and they didn't want any parts of Big Ben. And, he came up big. Now, Kansas City in a bounce-back situation. I would be careful there because everybody and their brother is lining up. The line is cheap at 3. The line is super cheap at 3. Raiders at home, they're banged up. But, the Raiders last year, we talked about that at the beginning of the year. The Raiders, we have them going deep this year. They're banged up a little bit now. But, once the Raiders get healthy and they get some offensive line guys back, I would not blindly play Kansas City this week.
Yeah, and you also had there's a line out there. We talked about it off air, JR. There's a line out there that's moved that would appear to me in the wrong direction.
Well, let me tell you, New Orleans this week is lining up because Green Bay, obviously with the Rodgers situation at home, and that line is close to 7. That's right, Packers, Lambeau +7. Now that just goes to show you how Aaron Rodgers is such an integral part of that team. But New Orleans is now up to almost 7 on the road. Everybody sees how they put up 52 against, a Detroit Lions team. But the Packers at home, I don't care who's playing quarterbacks. Could be the cheerleader, for God's sake. I would not play the New Orleans Saints -7 on the road.
Yeah, that number moved a lot, so you got to believe that there's, people betting two-fisted against the Packers being able to actually win a game without Aaron Rodgers, which I believe they have done in the past.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, look, JR, I know that every week you're making a couple of picks here. You've got your stuff out for sale on pregame.com, and this week we're looking at an NCAA football pick from you. As long as the word Air Force isn't in your play, I'm with you, man.
Yeah, Air Force impressed me in the beginning, and then there's something wrong with them, and I know I'm harping on that, but they were down 28-0 to a UNLV team that couldn't beat the state champ of Texas or Florida in high school. That's how bad that UNLV team was. And Air Force just, they forgot to get off the bus. I don't know what happened. The team went out on the field. The rest of the players stayed on the bus, and it was 28-0 at halftime, and it was not a nice feeling here when I started looking at that. It was Grumpyville for me here. Now, can I tell you about this week? I'm going to go with a solid coached team in a revenge situation, and I'm telling you right now, the Michigan State Spartans, 5-1, and they lost to a good Notre Dame team. Let me tell you, Notre Dame is a good team. Michigan State, 5-1. They're only lost 16th-ranked Notre Dame, and last year they gave up 2 touchdowns in the final 5 minutes to blow the cover and the win. Basically, they lost to Indiana. And basically, Indiana went in there and they celebrated. They were dancing around. Indiana beat Michigan State. And this year, this is a circled game. Michigan State is -6.5 or 7. They are going to play at home against a well-coached Indiana team. I'm not taking anything against them. But let me tell you, Michigan State is a circled rivalry game here. And I'm going one way and one way only. Defense wins game. Offense puts points. But defense covers the spread. And Dan Antonio, that's right, Dan Antonio from the Michigan State Spartans will get the job done. I see Michigan State crushing an Indiana team. I'm going to lay the 6.5 or 7 with the Spartans.
All right, so that is JRO's NCAA pick of the week here on Cast Your Bets. He is going to go with the Michigan State Spartans -7. That's going to go to 7, so I think we should call it a 7 and be fair there, JR.
Absolutely. I could be, 6.5 and try to beg off on that. But you know what? It's going to be at 7. A lot of the sharp guys I know, I follow a lot of sharps. I follow a lot of offshores. And I get a lot of guys in Hawaii, believe it or not. The sharpest actions are the West Coast and Hawaii. And these guys are playing Michigan State two-fisted. I'm backing it up. I love the stats and trends. I've been researching this all week. I'm coming back two-fisted because I am just disappointed as heck here when I lose for these guys. And I like Michigan State as a top college football play.
That's fantastic. They're off a win against Michigan. They're off a win against Minnesota on the road. It's their first home game in October against a pretty mediocre Indiana Hoosiers team. So that is going to be JRO's NCAA pick of the week, Michigan State -7. Folks, thanks for listening to Cast Your Bets. You know, you can find us out on iTunes. You can find us out on YouTube. You can find us over at the OSGA.com website. And we'll be right back after a little word here from OSGA.
The offshore betting industry is totally unregulated.
Where can you turn to make sure your money is safe offshore?
The Offshore Gaming Association, OSGA. Visit the Offshore Gaming Association at www.osga.com or call them toll-free 7 days a week at 877-OSGA-BET. That's 877-674-2238. Established in 1998, the OSGA has been the ultimate watchdog for the unregulated offshore betting industry. They have helped thousands of players find secure, reputable offshore wagering outlets and perform dispute resolution for hundreds of wronged players. Visit the Offshore Gaming Association at www.osga.com or call them toll-free at 877-OSGA-BET.
Welcome back, folks, to Cast Your Bets. After that message from OSGA, I am Jim from OSGA Offshore Gaming, here with J.R. O'Donnell from Red Zone Sports. You can also find J.R.'s stuff over at pregame.com, which is a terrific site, and we're glad to see that he's a part of that. I want to spend a couple of minutes talking to you from the point of view from OSGA, checking our email boxes, checking our chat lines. And one thing we're noticing is people still seem to think that they can get, same-day payouts. They seem to think that a check or a bank wire is going to show up in a matter of 2-3 days, which it just doesn't anymore. So for those folks who are out there playing online right now, keep in mind that even the best outfits are taking up to 3 days to get you a person-to-person transfer via MoneyGram. Checks are taking, at least 7 to 10 days, even at the best outfits, and more like 15 days from many of the places online. And your bank wires, sometimes they're even hit and miss. They take several days where, a guy used to be able to literally ask for a payout via bank wire, and 2 days later it would be in his bank account. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen anymore. And players, you don't necessarily need to be a little more patient, but you need to be a little less freaked out when it takes, 3 days to get a MoneyGram where it used to be able to get it by 6 o'clock the same day. There are still some places that do a nice job with that, but you also have a lot less amounts. I mean, JR, if you go back to 2002, I'm sure that you knew some guys who were able to get a Western Union for $1,500 out of a place, and you can't even use Western Union anymore. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds correct. Years ago, the Western Union was the way to fly. People used to pay me with Western Union, and I know Western Union used to be the way to go over with the offshores.
Yeah, and it just doesn't happen anymore. So as long as folks are aware out there, I mean, there's plenty of ways to send money and get money back, but it's just you need to understand that it's not some place trying to hold you hostage or keep your money. It's just the way that it kind of is right now, and the way that the U.S. laws are written to make it difficult for these places to send money back to the U.S. I also want to bring some attention to places that run specials every week, places that seem to be doing a little bit more for the player maybe this week or this month, or have made some changes to really become a little bit better outfit than they were last year. And right now, out on OSGA.com, you can see 2 specials that are exclusive to our website. There's one from BetMania, where they're giving you a giant free play or a giant cash bonus. And there's one from Bet Any Sports, where you're getting 30% more bonus than you would if you just went to the Bet Any Sports website. So head over to OSGA.com, click on Sportsbook Bonuses. You can find that on the left or at the bottom. Look over there at what's available. But we're going to be expanding this section every week, trying to bring you some new insights as to what places are doing online, giving you a little bit more of an overview. As we go through football season here, the lines are getting tighter, the sports books are getting smarter, but there's still ways to increase your bankroll and have a good time, and we're going to try and help you with that throughout the rest of the NFL season. Speaking of the NFL, JR, it's a grind. Every week it's a grind. It's a different game every week. I mean, Kansas City going down last week and whatnot. And this week, I hope you reach deep into that bag, man, because we could use it. We could use an NFL winner here on Cash Your Bets.
Absolutely. I'm reaching the deepest I go. Let me tell you, I got deep arms. I got deep pockets here. I'm going to play on a team here where the public's going to line up on one side and the Sharps and JR are going to line up on the other side. Now, I'm going to go to Twickenham Stadium, London, England, 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon. That's right. We're going to go overseas, 1 o'clock start. And the LA Rams are favored by 3.5 for a reason against an Arizona offense that, if everybody saw them last week, they put up 38 points against Tampa Bay. Adrian Peterson put on the Superman cape, put on everything, and he goes for 134 yards, 2 touchdowns on 26 carries. And basically everybody is now having the Arizona Cardinals back on the top. They got him going to the Super Bowl. Arizona now is going to be with Carson Palmer, and Adrian Peterson's going to save the day. The LA Rams are well coached. They got second-year quarterback Jared Goff. Basically, they are a good team under Sean McVay. And let me tell you, I'm not buying the Arizona Cardinals hype after 1 week against Tampa Bay. Peterson aging, and he did run well last week, but the Arizona Cardinals are not my play. The Rams went into Jacksonville against the public last week. They put up 27. They win 27-17 as an anti-public play. And I'm going to go ugly, I'm going to go affected, and I'm going to go the favorite here in Twickenham, London, England. I'm going to lay the 3.5. That's right. I could say 2, 2.5, or 3. But you know what? The line's 3.5, and I think it's going to go to 4 as the Sharps and JR are going to line up. LA Rams, good coached, great defense, young quarterback. They're going to take Arizona back down to the dismal place where they belong, and I'm going to play the Rams minus 3.5 as my NFL play.
Yeah, that's a fat winner there, I think, too, man. I mean, Goff's having a nice year, 8 yards per pass, which is 4th in the NFL. He's hitting at a 60% completion rate. He's living up to the pick that he was. Carson Palmer's been sacked 21 times. The Cardinals can't seem to win in the fourth quarter, and they're going to be all the way over there playing in the fourth quarter, which, by the way, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, shouldn't this game be on at 9? I was kind of freaked out that it's on at 1.
Absolutely.
It's a little late for tea at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, But yeah, this is a nice winner, man. I don't really know the stats on the London games. The total on this one is sitting at 47.5, but I have a feeling that a lot of these London games go under too.
Absolutely. I think under would be the play also. I'm certainly not going to make that the play because it's tough enough to pick a winner here. I think 3.5 with the Rams. As the anti-public team, as Arizona with Peterson, he's going to get his yards, but the Rams play tough defense. They are a quick sideline to sideline. I would put the Rams defense up against some of them ones. Everybody talks about how quick the Cowboys are. Everybody talks about how quick the Packers defense is. But you know what? The Rams sideline to sideline defense, they remind me of the Miami Hurricanes defense of old when Jimmy Johnson played there.
Oh, yeah.
Defense covers the number. Offense puts people in the stands, and defense covers the number. And I'm playing the better defense against the slumbering Arizona Cardinals.
All right, man. So we're going across the pond. We're going to play at 1 in the afternoon, so I don't have to get up at the crack of dawn to watch football. We're going to take the 4-2 LA Rams minus 3.5 against the 3-3 Arizona Cardinals for JRO's NFL Pick of the Week here on Cast Your Bets. Don't forget to look for us on iTunes and YouTube. Each week, I also want to tell people a little bit about some things that I see that players do wrong or incorrectly, or sportsbooks do wrong or incorrectly, that, with a little bit of advice, I think a lot of situations can be avoided. We hear guys who have complaints all the time, and, there's a couple of things that are like, boom, 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 do not do these things. They will make the sportsbook mad at you. They will make your life miserable. It's just not what you should do. Number one thing, if you used a credit card to deposit, do not use the words chargeback. That immediately will make a place's ear stand up. They'll start digging into you. And if they find a reason to not pay you, they'll lean on that. Well, you said you were going to charge back anyway, so we're not going to pay you there. The other thing not to do is threaten them, like, I'm going to get my lawyer after you. Ever hear that one, JR? I'm going to get my lawyer after you.
I hear it all the time.
Yeah, and it's just like that's not going to work because they're 5,000, 3,000, 2,000 miles away in some place where you're never going to find them. You don't have any kind of jurisdiction. You have literally no shot. I've had guys say, "Can I get a Costa Rican lawyer?" Giant waste of money. And then the last thing to not do is you don't need to call a place 16 times a day asking where your payout is. You don't need to email a place 40 times a day to ask where your payout is. These places, they all read email. It's almost, I remember, if you go back a lot of years, JR, in this business, you had some serious characters back in like the late 90s and early 2000s in the online gaming industry. And I remember one guy flat out telling me, he goes, if a guy calls 3 times, he drops 1 place in the callback list. So if he calls 9 times in one day, he's down to 4th in the callback list. He calls 18 times in one day, he's waiting until the next day before he gets called back. So,
Wow.
and that holds true today. I mean, the squeaky wheel does get the grease, but when the squeaky wheel squeaks too much, a guy hits it with a hammer, and that's, the kind of thing that's going to happen to you. So there's 3 big things. Don't mention chargebacks. Don't threaten. Don't email and call out of control. A lot of places, too, if you start cursing at them and stuff, they'll just hang the phone up on you or block your chat. So, those are three, maybe 4 things there to really help you make your life a little bit easier. And you can always resource us. Reach out to osga.com. We have chat lines, a phone line, and you can always reach us by email at osga@osga.com. So let's do a little recap here, JR. You're going with 2 favorites this week, which is a little unusual for you. We're going to go with the Michigan State Sparties at -7, and we're going to go with the Rams -3.5 over in England. Where can people find you this weekend, JR?
They can find my work at pregame.com. A lot of websites out there claim to be some of the nicest, but all they got to do is go to pregame one time. They'll see all the features. They'll see all the chats. They'll see all the forums. You can find me at pregame.com. Look for J.R. O'Donnell.
Yeah, man, that's a nice site, and you've been on there for a long time. The local paper here's the Inquirer, and Pregame does the odds for that. So it's awesome that you're out on that site. I hope things are going well for you over there.
Absolutely. Things are going great over there. Pregame is a banger in the industry. You have to be somebody to be on Pregame. We're very transparent. And what does transparent mean? The records in the games are up there for everybody to see. Just click on there, click on my records. You'll see how I'm doing. That's the only way to fly.
Fantastic, man. And if people want to know more about the topic of picking a handicapper, we did cover that last week in episode 6 of Cast Your Bets, which you can find, of course, on iTunes or out there on YouTube. My name's Jim from OSGA Offshore Gaming at osga.com. You can find me on Twitter. I'm on there all day long at Offshore Gaming, and you can find us on Facebook as well. JRO. Really great stuff on the show this week. I'm looking forward to 2 fat winners. I took a dip when you took a dip. I came back a little last week. I'm hoping your picks this week pull me up and bring me back into the black. That would be really nice. You all have a great weekend, and good luck with all of your wagers. Check in again here at Cast Your Bets.
You've been listening to Cast Your Bets, the Offshore Gaming Association podcast. Check in each week for more inside the sports gaming world. And don't forget to check us out on your favorite social media site and on our YouTube channel at OSGA Sports Betting. Thanks for listening.